Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about some other features of Google Forms that can be very helpful. They're not often needed, but they can be very helpful in certain situations. In the previous videos, we already talked about some of the basic features like creating a form. How do you get started with just adding some simple text input questions, some drop down multiple choice questions, how you can add more than one choice, a checkbox option, or videos and images. We covered all the basics. Now there are a few other type of questions that you can add in a Google form. Now you might have come across something that looks like this. This is the multiple choice grid. Now, if you try to understand what this question is doing here, it's asking what is your current skill level in the following. So it is asking what is your current skill level in MS Excel, what is your current skill level in MS PowerPoint, in Google Forms, in Google Sheets, data analysis, data reporting. So in one question, it is actually asking you six different questions together. You see, and for each of these six questions, the four options are the same. So, what is your current skill level in MS Excel? No experience, some experience, well experienced, or expert. It's the same four options for what is your current skill level in PowerPoint. So, one option that you have is that you create six different questions all with the same four options. That way, what you'll end up doing is your form will become so much longer and very repetitive. So the multiple choice grid allows you to compress. So six questions can be shortened and compressed into one single question, and that is how you get this format. Now this may look a little bit new, but it is actually really simple to understand, really simple to fill, and really simple to create also. Now, if we were to answer this, okay, let's say what is your current skill level in MS Excel, some experience in PowerPoint, some experience, Google Forms, well experienced, Google Sheet, some experience, no experience here, and let's say expert here. Fine. Now, I have filled it like this, but what if I try to, do something else? I try to skip one of the options. Now let's try to fill this. So what is your current skill level in MS Excel, MS PowerPoint, and I'm done. But I cannot be done because you see it says this question requires one response per row. So every row is this MS Excel, PowerPoint, Sheets, and data analysis, and I have filled it for the top five, but I've missed the last one. So I can't skip that. I have to actually fill it. And now that all six rows have at least one answer, and they can only be one answer here because it's a multiple choice, it's not a checkbox type. So now this question is complete. Now you can also have the same setup but with the checkbox, which is what we have here. Now in this what we have done is, again the basic format is the same. It is asking you multiple questions in one small uh, in a single question. It's compressing multiple questions into a single one. So which of the following topics would you be interested in for the training? And it has given you this list of topics here, and you just have to select which one is your first preference, which is your second, and which is your third. So let's say Excel is my first preference and Google Sheets is my first preference. But it's showing an error. It says please don't select more than one response per column, which makes sense for this question because your first preference can only be one option, right? You can't have more than one first preference. So I will remove first preference from Google Sheets and put it into second preference, and put data visualization as my third preference. If I try to select more than one, every time it shows me the same error. Do not select more than one response per column. Now let's try to understand how do we create these questions. Now we'll go to this one first, the multiple choice grid. Now at the back end, first thing you do is you select the multiple choice grid from here, and then you get rows and columns. Now you have to visualize this. It is best to do this visualization on paper, or you can always keep switching between this edit mode and the preview mode. Now in the preview mode, you can see that the rows are this: what is your current skill level and what are the different software in which I want to ask this question. So I'll put all the softwares, MS Excel, PowerPoint, Google Forms, Google Sheets as rows, and the option that for each question that I want to show, I'll put as columns. So one way to think about it is just write down first question. Okay, what is your current skill level in MS Excel, and write the options in front of it. No experience, some experience, well experienced, expert. Once that is done, your basic format is ready, and you can then just add all the other rows that you wanted to add there, and your question is done. Now in this, not only do you have the option to require, you have a require a response in each row. If I were to disable this, then what would happen is that a person could only answer, not all six, but say only one or two, or even, three or four of these, and leave the other ones, which is not what I want in this question. I want them to answer every single question here, every single row here. So I will select require a response in each row. Similarly, you also have the option here to limit the response per column, but that's not what we want here. We want that in the other question, the multiple choice checkbox one, which we will just look at. And you can again shuffle row order. Instead of always showing it in this order, you can just select shuffle row order, and it will always shuffle these options for every user. Now this was the multiple choice grid. If we were to go to the this one, which is the tick box grid or the checkbox grid, it's the same. You see, you have rows and you have columns. Now here, all the rows are the different options that I want to give to my users, and the columns are the first preference, second preference, third preference. In this, I cannot require a response in each row because I want to limit it to one response per column. You see, if I were to select a response in each row and then limit to one response per column, then that would not make sense here, because I can't select every option, right? If I have to select every row and I have to limit myself to only one, that both of them are not possible. So I have to carefully select that require response in each row is set to false, and limit to one response per column is set to true, and then this will work. Okay, so these were the two multiple choice grid and tick box grid options. You also have the linear scale option, which is also very simple. Let's just try creating it here. So a linear scale is simply asking you from a scale of 1 to 5, or a scale of 1 to 10, or whatever, uh, just anything. So how satisfied do you feel with your workplace? And you can set a 1 to 5, which can be starting from not satisfied at all to, and the 5 will be very satisfied. Now when you were to view this question in your, let me just refresh this, I've added a new question, it shows it like this. So 1 being not satisfied at all and 5 being very satisfied, and the person can just select how satisfied they feel from a scale of 1 to 5. If I were to change this from a scale of 1 to 10, then you will see a lot more numbers in the middle. This is also a required question, and the option here we have is only description, and you can add whatever relevant description you need to add here. So this is the linear scale question. Now we've covered all the question types that are available in Google Forms.